Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of ZEFE Today's Opening Bell, or how we call it in Romania, ZEFE Deschiderea De Astăzi. Today we're discussing with MATEJ RIGELNIK. He is the CEO of Equinox. MATEJ, hi, good morning.
Hi, Livio. Good morning.
Thank you very much for being here with us. MATEJ, how are you? How's life in Ljubljana?
Actually, the life is quite good, although the last couple of weeks I spent quite a lot in Bucharest. It's a very nice city you have there.
Thank you. Nice and expensive, or just nice?
Bucharest?
Yes.
Bucharest is a very nice city. I wouldn't go into prices. I really like it. It has a very good flair and very good energy. I really like the city.
Well, you're fit to move here, MATEJ, because we know Equinox is an investor at the Bucharest Stock Exchange, so you can be even closer to the companies in your portfolio.
Yes, to be honest, yes, I thought about it. The real estate prices seem quite okay compared to the real estate prices in Ljubljana, and not just in Ljubljana, in any other capital. And Bucharest is, the way I understand it, the largest Eastern European capital. So it's a city to be in, right?
For 500 euros, you can get a two-bedroom rent per month. So
you mean in terms of rent, but I was more thinking about buying something. From a longer term perspective, I see a good trajectory also for the real estate market, if you ask me, compared to, if you compare the wages to the square meter, to the price of the square meter, it seems reasonably priced.
Okay, that's one topic we discussed, because we also have some real estate companies listed at the Bucharest Stock Exchange. Let's see about Equinox, MATEJ. The assets under management, the funds, the funds you administrate, the investments here in Bucharest, and the shareholders, to get to know a bit the asset manager.
Yes, so we are practically a real estate company which is listed on the Ljubljana Stock Exchange. We are part of the main index of the Ljubljana stock market. It's Ljubljana SBI Top. Equinox is a spin-off of a former hotel company. So before Equinox, we used to operate also hotels mainly. So this was our main business area, and we decided to do a spin-off and take out the real estate part and to relist it on the Ljubljana Stock Exchange again. We did this because our shareholder structure is quite concentrated, and of course, on behalf of especially retail shareholders, we tried to give them a market at which they could actually sell their shares. So that was one of the main reasons we did. And the second reason would be that we are the first real estate focused investment team in Slovenia, not just in Slovenia, also in Croatia, and one of the few in Eastern Europe in general, because our business model in terms of Equinox is a long-term holding of real estate and leasing this out or renting this out to tenants. So we don't do any kind of development, or our development part is really small. So we are only focusing on like a business model of real estate investment trusts in the US.
Okay,
in terms of the assets under management, yes, we do every once a year we do an estimation of or valuation of our assets. The assets under management are around 150 million euros. But Equinox is not a regulated institution as a fund. It's a normal limited liability company with stocks, and these stocks being on the Ljubljana Stock Exchange. So we don't have any kind of formal regulatory status besides being listed on the stock exchange.
So, for instance, when I go to the Ljubljana Stock Exchange and I look for Equinox,
yes,
and I buy shares or unit funds.
Yes, so you buy shares. Our ticker is, we try to structure it in a very simple way. So EQNX is our webpage and is also the ticker of our stock. So we try to simplify it in a way for people to understand that what they are buying with Equinox is connected to real estate.
And the market cap?
The market cap is, I would have to check, but is around 112 or 115 million euros, something like that.
Okay, so it's somehow close to the assets.
Yes, I mean, we try, of course, we have a buyback program in place, so we can buy back shares also. We are highly or very in-depth looking into this discount of ours on the stock exchange. So currently the net asset value per share is around 74 euros and the stock price is around 65 euros, if I remember correctly. Yes. So we are closely looking into because we always look at it from the perspective of how to deploy the capital. So if we see that the stock is undervalued, we of course try to buy back our own shares.
We also have some listed funds here at Bucharest Stock Exchange, and the discount is it's quite large for compared with the price, 60-70%. Even Fondul Proprietatea, for instance, has a discount. What do you think it would be like a reasonable method to reduce this discount?
I mean, of course, you as a manager or the manager has always the option to deploy capital in a certain way. To grow the stock or to grow the company, they have the option, or we have the option to deploy more capital into the assets itself. So we buy new, for example, real estate, or we buy new financial investments. And then on the other hand, you have always the option to buy back your own stock, shares, and of course to pay out the dividends. So a combination of all this should be taken into consideration, and bearing in mind that of course shareholders want returns, right? So at the end, it's about the shareholders. It's the shareholders who own the company. Equinox has, for example, 557, if I remember correctly. I would say that based on our history, I know a lot of them, or practically majority of them I've met in general shareholder meetings, so we are in communication quite a lot. We also publish quarterly results, and we try to look at it from this perspective, so from the perspective of the small shareholder.
And the biggest shareholder of Equinox?
The biggest shareholder of Equinox is Axor Holding. The second biggest shareholder of ours is our sovereign wealth fund of Slovenia, and there are 555 other shareholders, smaller and bigger.
Smaller and bigger.
Yes.
Any Romanian? You know any Romanian institutional?
No, unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no. For Slovenians, to be honest, I was quite surprised that we don't have very good connections in terms of, for example, Slovenians trading on the Bucharest Stock Exchange and Romanians trading on Ljubljana Stock Exchange. So we would love to have also some international players involved. But in terms of the shareholder structure, I would say it's 99.99% owned by Slovenian shareholders. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Matej, let's see some investments of Equinox here at the Bucharest Stock Exchange. What companies do you have in your portfolio, and how do you see them, and how do you choose them, basically?
So first of all, Equinox is mainly about real estate, mainly. So our main focus is real estate. But we do, during the last 2.5 years, we acquired also a portfolio of real estate companies, or companies which are associated, at least indirectly, with real estate. So we do own some of the major players on the European stock exchanges which deal with real estate. And we, of course, also were looking into the story of Romania. You know, Romania, in terms of, we'll get to this topic, but in general, the Fondul Proprietatea story, if I may elaborate a bit on the history of our understanding of Fondul Proprietatea from a Slovenian perspective. Mark Mobius, when you set up the management of Fondul Proprietatea with Franklin Templeton, did a very famous interview here in Slovenia, I think in 2010. And he elaborated on the, let's say, good decisions you did in terms of separating the state involvement from the managing the minority stake in the companies. And it was a quite famous interview, because Slovenia at that point in time, you know, could have chosen to go down this path, to bring an international manager, to try to bring more corporate governance into our companies. But we still decided these assets to be managed by the state itself. So we didn't decide for this path. And if you look at the returns of Fondul Proprietatea in the last 14 years, it was a magnificent success, not only for Romania, but I think for the whole Eastern European market. So this communist reimbursement scheme you did, it was a huge success, and that's why also Fondul Proprietatea is a very famous asset and a very famous investment, and with a very good legacy for the last 15 years. So we really like the asset.
So from what you're saying, Fondul is your biggest investment here in Bucharest?
Yes, it is our biggest investment in Bucharest. And of course, we are looking at the Fondul Proprietatea as one is from a, let's say, legacy perspective. We really like the legacy, but of course you have magnificent assets in the portfolio of Fondul Proprietatea. The airport, the port, and Sarom are magnificent assets, and we of course very much like them.
And how many investments do you have here? Are there any other investments besides FP?
No, we don't have. In terms of Equinox, we have only FP. Yes.
FP, okay, on the Bucharest Stock Exchange.
Yes.
Let's see. So the model of FP, from what you're saying, managed by Franklin Templeton, it was appreciated by the shareholders. How do you see FP under a new asset manager?
I mean, if I may elaborate a bit on the legacy or the historical part of it.
Yes,
once again, it at least for me personally, it used to be a role model how to manage, let's say, state or parts or minority stakes in state-owned companies. You know, you did a lot of good things with this, especially hydroelectrical listing. This was one of the largest, if not the largest, listing in 2023 on any kind of stock exchange in Europe and also in US. We closely followed that. And so we really liked the approach itself. How is it managed, that you derive value out of it, and you of course make by bringing some other rationale and some other expertise into those companies. You bring more efficiencies. You bring a clearer picture into the companies, and this is the thing which you achieve through engaging in Fondul Proprietatea and engaging also with Franklin Templeton. In terms of the future of the fund, of course, there is the GSM, the General Shareholder Meeting, coming on the 29th of September, with a different strategic perspective of Fondul Proprietatea, taking a different path, which, I mean, we really like the asset itself and we really like the current structure. So that's why we, let's say, are supporting the fund as it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've seen your request regarding some. You've sent some questions to the board of representatives of FP. If there will be a ROCA chosen, will you sell FP?
No, we are in any case long-term shareholders. We are not here, let's say, for the quick buck. We really like the assets. We really like all the three companies which are in the fund. And as I told you, we really like the legacy of the fund. So we are not here for 6 months or 3 months or whatever. We have a long-term perspective. If you come from an environment of real estate where you need a very long-term perspective to deal with real estate, we of course understand that stocks and stock investments are associated with volatility. And if you like the asset and the asset is right, and in this case it's perfectly right, we are going to stay.
Mm-hmm. Since when you've been an investor in FP, Equinox?
So Equinox started quite recently. I would say probably 2 months, something like that.
2 months?
Yes.
Your first purchases of
yes. In terms of Equinox, it's, let's say, around 2 months. Yes, maybe 2.5 months, okay. Something like that.
Well,
we of course saw the rationale, as you said. I mean, you mentioned it already, right? So the discount was really huge, and not just the discount. You know, we particularly like the assets, so that's why we agreed to. You know, and we went through in Slovenia in 2013. We also went through a, let's say, privatization process of the Ljubljana airport. You know, so we have quite a lot of experience in that too. So we really like the Ljubljana airport, and your airport is magnificent. You know, we really like it. I always, when I'm there, it's crowded. I haven't seen such a crowded airport in my life, to be honest.
And expensive.
Expensive. I mean, you have to look at it from which perspective you look, right? From the customer's perspective, it might be expensive, but from the, let's say, this, because the state is 80% shareholder and owner of the airport, of course, they are doing good on behalf of their shareholders. So I don't think, I mean, I don't spend a lot of money, to be honest, on international airports, but there I take 2 slices of pizza. This costs me 16 euros. I consider it expensive, yes. But you have really great pizza there. I'm a huge pizza fan, so I always take it.
The rent has to be paid, right? 16 euros goes to the rent, being in the airport.
Yes.
let's see, 2 months. Why now, and why not at the start of the year? What did it change that you somehow got Tepe under your radar?
I mean, we were closely looking into Romania for quite a long time, right? So it's not that it would be something new for us, but of course we saw that the price was right for us, and we decided that it's the right time to entry. There is nothing more to interpret into our decision to get engaged. We really like the asset. And you always have to look at it from an asset perspective. If I can elaborate, I visited in the airport itself. I'm visiting every day every time I'm flying to Romania and back. But I went also to Constanța. I took the tourist bus, and the tourist bus was driving 45 minutes around this port of Constanța. So it's a magnificent port too. In Slovenia we have a port, but compared to Constanța, this is a very, very tiny port. And my personal portfolio, if I may elaborate on that, in Slovenia, you can find online, I publicly disclosed my personal portfolios on the portfolio of MATEJ RIGELNIK. And my largest investment in Slovenia, 30% of my whole portfolio, is in Port of Luka Koper. So we really like also this kind of strategic assets. And Salrom is, with this graphite project, with salt mines and everything, it's also a magnificent thing.
For instance, Matej, the fund market cap right now is around 300 million euros, and the assets under management 500 million euros. So there's there's a discount there. What do you think it is like a reasonable market cap right now for Fondul?
I think it's less than 300 million. I would say it's around 250 million or a bit above 250 million, because there are 3 billion 23 million shares outstanding with a price of 0.425. I think it's priced around 250. You are asking me why the discount?
No, I'm asking, how do you see this market cap, and given the investments, the companies in its portfolio, what do you think it will be like a let's say fair market cap in your opinion?
It depends.
Or even if this one is fair.
Of course, we really like the asset. That's why we also bought into it. We of course perceive it as valued, let's say cheaply, or not cheaply. Let's put it that way. Below fair value. Let's put it that way. Below fair value. If you do in case you decide, from our perspective, if I may elaborate, we didn't even go into this game of the airport being sold, etc., etc. We really like the asset, so we wanna, be part of the asset for the next 10 years. So we are not looking into the state now selling the airport or privatizing the airport. It's a very strategic asset, and it can generate very high cash flows. And based on the analysis we did, in terms of the profitability of the airport, it's one of the most profitable airports, and there is still a lot of potential to be done. New terminal, make this one better, try to find other sources of revenue. So there is a lot of potential left.
So you said that you like the assets, they're strategic assets, companies owned by the Romanian state. Why don't you have Hidroelectrica in your portfolio? Also a strategic asset.
Yes, it is a bit away from, let's say, our main investment team, because if you look at the airport and the port itself, it's also real estate, right? So somehow it is real estate. It's strategic real estate. That's why you call it infrastructure, but otherwise it's real estate. Hidroelectrica is a different game. It's not something we would consider for Equinox. But besides this, Hidroelectrica is also. When we came to Romania, when we visited quite a lot of companies. When we came there, and we visited Hidroelectrica, Nuclear Electrica, we visited One United, we visited MedLife. So we visited quite a lot of companies, and to be honest, I was impressed by all of them. And especially Hidroelectrica and Nuclear Electrica. I like the story about these modular reactors. I like the story of the nuclear power plant being listed on the Bucharest Stock Exchange. So you did a great job there too. In Slovenia we have our own power plant, but our power plant is controlled by the state. And yes, I have some doubts about how it is managed. Let's put it that way.
You've mentioned One United. The shares went up by 15% in 2 days.
Yes.
And for a blue chip, it just turned the best performing blue chip in the last month, if I'm not mistaken. They announced a buyback program, and that's what drove the price up. Let's see, Matej, what other companies are there position on your portfolio that you intend to buy, Romanian companies?
I mean, in terms of Equinox portfolio, I think we have the jewel of the Romanian stock market, which is Fondul Proprietatea. We really like this, and you should stick to what you at least think you understand. And we try to understand this story, and we really like it. So why not stay with this story? And for others, let's say Equinox is not the right vehicle so that Equinox would invest in other teams. Let's put it that way. But me personally, I like a lot of companies. So the next thing I should definitely do is put a bit of my retirement money also into your stock market.
Okay. You've mentioned that if the shareholders will reject Roca as a asset manager, you will stay on your ground. You will not sell. Will you buy?
I mean, I cannot elaborate on what we are going to do. We will see what the future will bring. But of course, in terms of Fondul Proprietatea, maybe one interesting story we didn't mention so far is that Fondul Proprietatea is owned by Romanian shareholders, right? It's owned by Romanian citizens. So it's 50% or more than 50% is owned not by the state, not by institutional investors. It's owned not by Equinox or not by any other company. It's owned by the Romanian citizens, and that's why they should be engaged in this story and decide what they want Fondul Proprietatea be in the future.
That's what we wrote today. That's the main article in your newspaper. 22,000 investors, right? They own almost 60% of 57 to be more precise. That's double than it was, I think, 3 years ago. They mainly bought shares, retail investors. They mainly bought shares from private pensions funds. Let's see. How do you see, or how do you hope to see Fondul from 1 year from now on?
To manage these assets it has, to engage in proactive management tactics and work on the assets itself. You don't need more if you have great assets. Imagine that you would have a company with terrible assets, but you have great assets. Why would you look for another strategy if you have great assets? You should focus on those assets. So I mean, my perspective, or at least the perspective how we perceive it, is to the manager of the fund being engaged in managing these assets. The terminal, a new terminal of the airport, maybe some other things, graphite project of Salrom, or even the port in Constanța being developed further. So there are a lot of opportunities everywhere.
Fondul, and just 2 more questions. Matej, Fondul has 50% or 50% of its asset value represents Aeroportul, right? So around 200 million euros. Do you think that Aeroportul has a higher value than this? This is just a value decided by a big four company. So it's not, the market decide is not listed.
Look, we were engaged in this Ljubljana airport story when it was privatized in 2013. The multiple at which it was sold to Fraport was substantially higher than the airport of Bucharest, the Otopeni airport, is valued. So in terms of if the state wants to privatize, I think if the process is done in the right way, this could bring substantial value for the company itself and also for the stock market, right? It will bring a new share, a new stock to the stock market. It will help with the liquidity. So there is a lot of potential. We see it, yes, it's very reasonably priced. Let's put it politically correctly. If you want to go, if the state wants to go this path, if it wants to pursue any other path, I think with the dividend yield it has and all the interesting projects it might engage in, we see a bright future.
Okay, let's end on this positive idea, Matej, and I hope to see you or to see other investments in your portfolio, because like you mentioned, we have some great investments here. You just need to find them, basically. Thank you very much for the explanations, for the transparency, and for your time, basically. Matej Rigelnik, thank you, Matej.
Thank you so much, Liviu. Thank you for having me, and thank you to all your viewers to have engaged with us.
Thank you. Looking forward meeting you again. I will now switch to Romanian for the closing remarks. Mulțumesc tare mult că ne-ați urmărit. Până data viitoare, fiind la investiții câștigătoare. Numai bine!
Știu ce spun.
Angajații de la finanțe protestează față de măsurile de austeritate. El a fost votat, dar...
Acum e vina românului.
E vină. E reacție.
Știu ce te interesează. Uite cum arde toată Europa și la propriu și la figurat.
Niște fenomene naturale.
Mor oameni în fiecare an. Decesele cauzate de poluare.
Știu cum să te fac curios.
A apărut telefonul care te scapă de telefon. Nu se poate face chestia asta și ca să te ajute să slăbești ceva invizibil.
Nu te mai duci la cumpărături, nu mai bagi în frigider, e gol tot timpul, e ca la fot.
Știu cum să te emoționezi.
Zeci de pompieri români vor fi în Franța timp de o lună în cadrul unui program european dedicat controlului incendiilor de vegetație.
Știu să convin. Italienii se plâng că le pleacă românii din țară și că îi lasă fără forță de muncă. Au început să ne ducă dorul.
Știi de ce?
Erau mai muncitori.
Pentru că românii, da, sunt destul de cuminți. După o săptămână începeți să vorbiți cu mâna și după 3 luni nu mai știți româna.
Știu să câștig.
Extraordinar de bine.
Știu, deci știi.